Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 155 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So while we know that life isn't always unicorns and sparkles and this uphill, amazing ascent, we also know that sometimes we feel out of flow for longer than usual. Maybe you've hit a point in your life where you've got so much going on that you are barely making it through the day. Or maybe you've created a life where you feel that you really love what you have, but you're getting a little bit bored and you're wondering what is next. So if you're feeling like you've lost some of that magic in your life and you're looking to find that spark again, today's podcast on finding more happiness in your everyday life is for you. So Oxford Dictionary defines happiness as the state of pleasurable contentment of mind, deep pleasure in or contentment with one's circumstances. And the reason I want to define happiness first is because if we're searching for happiness and if we're spending so much time working towards it, we want to know what it is that we're actually trying to achieve or actually try to find. And when you're not sure of what happiness means to you, you'll keep wondering, is it something that you have? Is it missing? What else is out there? And many of us don't actually go around asking for happiness, but you'll find usually the lack of it. You'll find people saying things like, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with my job. I'm not happy with my health. I'm not happy with how much money I'm making. I'm not happy with how I still feel like I'm doing all the work. I'm not happy with how they're treating me or how they're behaving. So why happiness matters is that we humans are just very goal-oriented. Whether we like to think about things in terms of goals or not, we spend an inordinate amount of time trying to close gaps in our lives. We see problems, we try to fix them. Yet real happiness is about this enduring sense of contentment with one's circumstances, which means what you have right here, right now. So what is our ability to find joy in the process of living right here, right now? And so the problem with goal attainment is that we are normally unhappy or dissatisfied when we think about gaps, when we think about problems. We feel discontent with the status quo. And that discontent isn't wrong. But what we call negative or positive feelings matter. And if we don't notice that these feelings are just natural reactions when we're shown a contrast in our lives, then we're not going to understand why we're trying to do what we're trying to do. And contrast of what we want versus what we don't want, contrast of what we prefer in life versus what we don't prefer. So when you're struggling with figuring out what to do next in your life, or what job you want to take, or if you should say yes to an opportunity, many times that comes from discontentment. And a lot of times we have a hard time holding things like discomfort for too long. And it's actually good, right? We start to think, well, if I take this job, it'll make me happier with my work. But we need to also understand, what does that mean? What does happier with my work actually mean to you? And generally, it's a feeling of getting what you want. I got what I wanted. Yes, right? Yet it doesn't come and it doesn't last without some sort of effort and some sort of reflection to keep bringing it back. The honeymoon period of getting what you wanted always wears off at some point for everything. And this means that you can look for happiness, but you might not have it for very long without having to go back to find it again and again. And I want you to consider, even in your body, have you ever tried to hold a positive emotion in your body for a long period of time? It's like you just got news of something that is amazing. And I want you to actually think about how long can you feel that feeling of excitement or that joy or that sense of life? This is amazing. How long could you actually hold it for? And I want you to think about that question because most of us feel these feelings for a short period of time. Yet we spend so much more time before that short period in the discomfort, in the seeking, in the I'm trying portion, right? We actually feel that feeling of, oh, that's so amazing. It happened. I want you to think about the last thing that happened that you actually were working towards. Could be big, it could be small. And imagine how long it took for that moment to come and go. Normally, feelings come and they go without us bringing them back, they will leave. So, whether it's subpar states where we are lost or confused or upset or tired or hungry, or higher level states where we feel elated or joyful or a sense of ease, right? Or satiated and sufficient, we humans can get used to anything. So even our emotions and even our thoughts will come and go constantly. And then we just set a new baseline, we set a new target, we set a new standard for where we want to be. And then we start to seek for the next thing. And this means that if you're trying to find happiness in your everyday life, what's more helpful than happiness alone is being really present. What does that mean? Right? Happiness will feel like it just keeps moving past that cognitive horizon, while presence can be thought of as a practice, which means one is this far off place that we don't ever really get to. Yet happiness, by its definition, means that you have contentment with your circumstances. But because we're constantly in that gap closing mentality, it's very fleeting with our level of satisfaction with our current circumstance. And so presence might be even more important. And it's a practice. And if it's a practice, that means that it's something that you can do. And presence is that baseline. It's a very foundational level of feeling anything you want to feel around well-being, around feeling healthy and alive and thriving. And when you're more aware of what is happening right now, you can actually bring more attention to it. That's what presence is. So that you can find contentment right here, right now. What is working for you, even though there are so many things that aren't working for you. And this is retraining your brain. You're going to notice that you like to move away from things that you don't prefer and that you don't like. And you like to move towards things that you do like. And it's a very human response. Yet, even there, can you be present and content knowing that I'm seeking something different? I'm seeking something more. I'm seeking something deeper. Can you still be able to say, yes, I don't like that this is how it is right now, my current circumstances. And I know that reality always wins, which means this is how it is. But I have to work with this. I have to work with what I have in order to move towards what I want. And so when you start to think about those stressful times in your life, how you find happiness during those stressful times is going to be a factor of you deciding that the work of finding peace is your own job. It's not up to life to give you peace. It's up to you to say, okay, right here, right now, where is the peace? You have to go to the place where you allow yourself to see what is working for you. You have to accept what is happening because you cannot eliminate all of the sources of stress in your life. I want you to imagine a normal day. In a normal day, our lives will have ups and downs with events in our control and out of our control, creating potential stress, creating potential problems. For example, the other day I got news of having the opportunity to do some pretty cool work. And I was pretty excited. So, yes, this is something I want to do. And then I wonder if I'm going to have an opportunity like that again, right? So that excitement suddenly becomes like this wonder of, okay, like, is this going to happen again? How am I going to get an opportunity like this again? I wonder if I'll be able to do a good job. I wonder, and I start thinking about how do I need to prepare? How do I make sure I do a good job? Then I see that something else has to be done on top of this in all of these upcoming weeks. And as I get closer to it, I see how it's going to be a larger volume of work, maybe than I originally thought or expected. So, this litany of thoughts, of ideas, of stress that come along with all of that excitement. And so, there's the stress of having something and the problems and the work that comes with it. So, whether we are in control or whether we're out of control of the situation, we will have that stress. And that stress isn't always bad. It's how we deal with the stress that's going to create those moments of pleasure or contentment in that period of your life or that period of your day versus having that chronic stress. Some of you don't even know that you are anxious or that you have anxiety. I remember describing it to someone and having them say, "Oh, that's what it is. I didn't realize I have a lot of these unhelpful, repeating negative thoughts over and over and over and over and over again. And they take me out of my day. They take me out of this presence." And so it seems like this very intangible idea, but we have to realize that so much of our life is driven by these intangible areas where if we kind of air them out, we start to see what's actually happening. So, stress is one of those key elements that seem to counteract a lot of the feelings of well being that we actually want to have in our life. And when you have chronic stress, which means that the stress just keeps going on and on and on, that comes with all of those feelings of anxiety. It comes with overwhelm. It comes with frustration. And when you have that over longer periods of time, it is what affects your physical health. It is what affects your emotional and your mental health. It is one of the reasons you'll get sick more often, or you'll feel like you're carrying maybe additional weight, or even you feel like you're losing hair, right? Or like even you'll get like tension headaches. And sometimes you'll find people with different digestive issues as well. So, one of the things to come back to when you're in those moments, even throughout the day of stress, is to find small moments of stillness, to come back to a place of clarity or perspective, to see how maybe this is the perfect problem. I'm telling you, there's been over the last several weeks, all these kind of personal things that have popped up and work related things. And it's a muscle. I keep reminding myself that I'm going to the place where I have to see how this is the perfect problem, how this is helpful. And when I do that, it becomes that way. So the thought precedes the circumstance. My interpretation of how it will go is entirely influenced by my state of mind as I come into it, which is why I actually meditate even more when I have times that I need to be doing something very important. Meditation is this pattern interrupt, and it helps you actually move out of that chronic stress cycle, not because you want to avoid doing work, but I know that if I enter my work with a clarity of thinking, with a more resourceful state of being where I feel more empowered, I feel like there are more options, I'm more likely to see more solutions. I'm more likely to be more effective, more productive, more resourceful. I can move quicker. So, what you put into your brain, what you put into your mind and your energy and your state of being is what comes out in your results and on the other side. I'm less likely to doubt myself when I'm in this state of resourcefulness. If I can create a break in that chronic stress cycle, I can remind myself why I do know and what I do know and how what I have is enough. And I've seen myself increase my productivity, do work that used to take me hours in minutes because of the thinking and the clarity of thinking and the ability to not see everything as a stopping point versus a thing to be examined, solved, looked at. And so movement of your body can also do the same thing to break you out of overthinking or rumination cycles. Movement brings you back to the present because it gets you into your body and you can see things more clearly. So all of these obviously have levels of work and awareness and states of being, but I'm just giving you kind of that tip of the iceberg so you start to understand and see the possibility of what's available to you. When things are very clear mentally, you don't just wonder if it's right or wrong. You don't hesitate in analysis paralysis. It's easier to do things and to take action. It doesn't mean you will never have that wondering if it's right or wrong. You'll never hesitate in analysis paralysis. But if you can notice that you're there and then break yourself out of that cycle, then you find instead of being in there for days, weeks, months, even years, hello, for all those people that I'm talking to that have been thinking about this one thing for years and still haven't done the thing that they want to do. This is what I'm talking about. This is why some people feel that it takes time to do things. This is why some people do things faster than you do them, and you wonder, how did that happen? And this is why some people actually feel that if I just had more time, I can make more clear decisions. So time is a construct of our mind, but time is a clear and natural break for some people. They think of time as, okay, I'm in a certain period of time, I'm going to break away from the thing that's on my mind. Over time, I'm going to be distracted maybe by something or another and just not have that same kind of acute focus. It's not helpful, because what's not helpful is that I'm just fixated on what's not working, what's going wrong, how this can't be solved, why this is a giant problem in my life. And so even time, that feeling of having time will break the pattern, and it returns our body and our mind to this place where you know you can figure it out and you know it's doable. So if you are feeling stressed, just take a moment to find the peace and create more clarity for yourself. Just assume that it is there and you just have to go find it. Like it's in another room, you left it behind. Oh, that peace and presence. Oh, I forgot about it. Let me just go grab it right now and take it along with me for the ride. The same way that you have sunglasses on when you're outside and there's a lot of sunlight, you can also carry and take peace and presence with you. And this is something that might not come very naturally to you, but if we grip so hard to just the doing of the thing, and we forget why we're here and what the purpose of it is, we might as well not do it at all. It's like going and trying to stare directly at the sun instead of realizing that you're here because you wanted to feel the warmth of the sun. You're outside because you want to notice the plants or the trees or the leaves or enjoy the fruits of the sun, right? The food that it brings you, even to bask in it. But going and trying to hurry up and do something is like, I'm just going to go stare at the sun and forget that in that process, I might be hurting myself more than just being aware that the sun is there, aware that the problem is there, aware that it needs to happen, but you're taking care of the things around it that are the real reason you're trying to deal with this problem. The real reason you're trying to work through this is to find peace, find contentment. So can we have that now? All right. One of the things that I notice more and more also is that when we hide behind rules of what we think we should do, we lose the sense of identity. We lose the sense of staying true to ourselves, of our inner guidance. And we don't always do it on purpose. We actually believe we can't, or we shouldn't do something. But how I know this is a problem for you is because you start to resent the fact that you're following the rules. And when you do something you don't believe in because you think it's going to make other people happy, and then you resent doing it, that is a form of people pleasing. And so people pleasing will often feel like you have no choice. And I'm going to resent the person, the place, or the thing because I'm doing this. why do others get to do this and I can't? Like, this is the kind of thought that goes through your mind. And when you lose that feeling of choice in your life, that more playful, imaginative, possibility filled, magical part of your life starts to diminish. You feel like you can't just do what you want anymore. And instead of questioning what you can do instead, you might just keep playing by the rules. You fall into line and you're just resenting the entire way. Yet, where you're going to feel more peace, where you're going to feel much more enjoyment, is in that feeling of choice. If you want to feel that sense of ongoing happiness or contentment with your life circumstances right here, right now, no matter what is going on, the thing that you feel is impossible, you will need to know why you're choosing to do what you're doing instead of thinking, I have to. Not because I have to do this, but because you want to do this. Every day you wake up, you do the things, you have a choice. So, this is one of many examples, but this is one that was very clear to me when I was thinking about this episode. I remember this time very early in my career when I was mad at someone for sharing her political views at work. And years later, I realized I was frustrated because I thought I had to behave a certain way by sitting quietly, not sharing what I think and what I thought. Well, this person just gets to share their full opinions. So I was frustrated because there was a part of me that wanted to not do the right thing and be that person that took the high road. There was a part of me that wanted to share what I thought unabashedly, that wanted to make her uncomfortable. Not because I was trying to make her uncomfortable, but more this idea of I didn't care about it, who didn't want to feel like I wasn't supposed to, or didn't want to feel that I wasn't allowed to. So, this is an example of how our reaction to things are often more important than the thing itself. Because what it showed me was that I was frustrated because I wanted to do something similar, but I felt like I couldn't. I wouldn't have resented her. Instead, I would have thought, wow, I'm so inspired, even though maybe I disagree with what she's saying. I'm so inspired that she just shares her point of view. Or I could think, right, this is what it looks like to be in your power, in your full authority, and own what's happening, even if you feel, right, you disagree. I might say, I'm aware of exactly why I wouldn't do what this person's doing. This is not something I want to do. So I'm not here getting frustrated by it. I'm just like, okay, well, that's their thing. And I'm not going to react to that because it's not about me. And so you start to notice, right, that these little nuggets of wisdom are always available to you. And if you're allowed to feel unhappy, if you're allowed to feel mad and frustrated, and all of those more quote unquote negative feelings, then we'll actually understand them better. So if we're only seeking happiness, we often feel that we can't break away from all of these rules. And we think that we have to make other people happy, by being glad, by being, energized all the time, versus what if I got to be mad, angry, or frustrated? Not because I'm trying to be, but because that's just how I feel. And if I can actually understand it, I can actually understand what I need from the situation and what I'm looking for. And instead of people pleasing and then resenting it, I'm going to realize, oh, making other people happy is not the healthy way for me to be happy. And I have so much more choice than I realize, and so do you. Another thing to think about, right, as we think about this idea of how do we find more happiness in our everyday life, is discovering more of that unconventional path. When we have a very conventional path and conventional life, that causes us to start to compare, because then we can start to say, oh, this person is same age, same amount of kids, the kids at the same age as mine, going to the same schools, or maybe even I went to the same school as this other person. I came from the same place, or have the same nationality. Whatever kinds of things you start to use to bring yourself together can also pull you apart. And this comparison to what others are doing versus us often diminishes our level of happiness, our contentment in our circumstances, because we tell ourselves we're not doing as good or as much as other people. And if you notice that you're feeling disengaged or you're stressed or you're wondering, what's the point of life? What's the point of work? This is your opportunity to start to diverge, to start to pull apart. And instead of looking for a single straightforward path, do what actually feels uncomfortable. You can see that life isn't this straight line. And if you don't think you can move, change jobs, go to a different organization, learn a new skill, simplify your life, exercise, eat differently, focus on your mental health, or take a different path in some way, shape, or form, I want you to think again. Because even if you start to contemplate these paths, if that feels strange to you, that's a good thing. It means you're thinking differently and your brain is like not sure what to do with this. And when you start to think differently, you're going to create new feelings. You're going to have to create more self trust when you go into places that are unknown and into new ways of living when you have different kinds of feelings and thoughts in your brain. So when I started thinking about changing careers, I had to consider everything from moving to going back to school to taking a pay cut to taking pay raises to changing my identity as an entrepreneur versus employee. And the list goes on. And none of these were these massive, huge undertakings. They were all simpler than I thought they were. I think that's what keeps us from happiness. Many times we're like, oh, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take some giant thing. And look at this person. They've already done all this. Why bother? Why start? I should just stay where I am, do what the safe thing is, and just keep on going. And I'm not saying keeping on going, staying or going is good or bad. I'm just saying to examine it, to actually ask yourself, to stop making those comparison points and to actually think about how your life is very, very different. And if you want to think about that unconventional kind of living, you can actually notice like how many small places in your life you have a choice to do something unconventional. And I'm not saying to be contrarian for the sake of just being different. That in and of itself is like you're trying to be different is a conventional thing too, because when people try to be different, they just kind of do the opposite of what everyone else does. But it's still a reactive move instead of like a self-led move. But if you are doing something unconventional because you actually are considering what you're doing and what you're thinking makes sense to you, that's different. How do you actually find those places? Well, think about a place where you think you have to do something because that's how everyone else does it. But you actually have a better alternative or you're resisting. You find this one place where you're like, I don't want to do that because everyone else does it and they do it, but it's just not for me. Try leaning into that a little bit or just trying doing the alternative instead. Whatever it is you're thinking you must do, what if it looked like you doing something different? Maybe you are the one person who does something different than what other people do in your community. What if that's okay? I remember even when I started, again, I have so many examples of this because this has been so much of the work that I work with clients with and myself on. But I remember even when I started doing the coaching work, it felt like doing the corporate work at the time wasn't as good. I was comparing myself to people who said you should only do one or the other. Like you should only be an entrepreneur and corporate 9 to 5 is for weaklings. I'm making this up, but there is a whole side of saying like one is good versus one is bad, or entrepreneurs and stinks because there's so much risk and you're never going to have a livelihood and you can't do that either. So there's so much noise, and the feeling of not doing it right was very present because it didn't look like this person's path and it didn't look like this other person's path. So it actually took some of my own living in my own life, in my own lane, to see I had reasons that I love to do both at the same time. And if those reasons changed, then I would change what I did. But until that happened, I was going to do both. So even in my unconventional choice, I actually gave permission to others, not on purpose, but because people are looking around the same way I was looking around. And I gave permission to other people who saw what I was doing and realized that they could also love two things at the same time and do them both in integrity. So, more happiness in our daily lives looks like seeing how we are uniquely positioned ourselves, right? Our uniquely positioned life to live a life of our own choosing. Doesn't mean you have to be a contrarian, but just being a little bit unconventional, not because you're trying to be, but because you notice that you're finding resistance already. And instead of doing the thing you want to do, you keep thinking you need to fall back into line. You keep needing to go back to what you think you're supposed to do, but you resent it. And then you're now people pleasing. This idea of being a lot less judgmental about our lives and more curious about why we do what we do, to make choices that feel like they make sense to us because we don't have to actually do what other people do. And in that process, happiness is actually going to find you when you stop looking for it. It's one of the magical laws of the universe, that this idea that as soon as you let it go, you assume that it's there, you assume it's your birthright, you assume you're worthy of it, and you have it, and it comes to you as you create more places where you are really present in your life, where you're at peace with your life. You're going to still do things. I'm telling you, there's no way you're not still going to achieve, you're not going to do things, but you're just going to do small and big things well. You're going to retrain your brain to seek presence, to seek peace over pleasure. You're going to take care of what you know to do and actually love your life and yourself no matter what's happening. So this isn't always easy because we've spent decades being trained to look for all the things that are wrong and to fixate on all of that. But this is very simple. It's very possible. I've seen it done time and time again. And everyone I work with is a living and breathing embodiment of what this means, because this is real life. It's not some fictional fantasy land that we're talking about. We're trying to find more happiness in your everyday life, to find those places of meaning, of magic, of spark. But I know it's possible for you to have that in every single moment of your day. So with that, I want to share with you that if you are in love with this kind of thinking, if this sparks a lot of thoughts about what you want to do and how you want to figure out what's next, coaching supports you on that journey. It is that blend of practical work, the spiritual, which is the mindset, the understanding of what drives you and what gives you meaning. And you can schedule a consultation at www.mayamsin.com/contact to learn more, to move forward, to actually start the process of figuring out what's next. There is a whole community of like-minded, open, curious seekers. You sometimes feel like you're the only one thinking about these problems, wondering if you're the one that is the only person thinking, is this it? Or am I supposed to do this life like this? Or are you happy in your job? Or how do you retire now? I would like to retire now, right? These are the things that people are wondering and thinking, but you don't have a place to go to talk about it beyond maybe some family and friends. And so I offer you guidance and support on this journey in a structured way, but tailored to your individual circumstances as well. It is a powerful group and private coaching hybrid experience for people who want to expand their vision of what is even possible for their lives and then figure out what's next. It is the hardest thing to know what you want. For you, it's actually easier probably to do it than to have the vision that matches where you're at in your life right now, your current responsibilities, what would actually make sense to you and something you can believe in. And so you have a whole 12 months of support, individualized guidance, community to get your ideas from and get inspired by other people, and then retreats to actually make the time to plan and plot out that next act. So we will help you build that confidence to actually start to make those moves, do the things, to start to trust your intuition even more so that you can design your life and make all those decisions that you love. So if that's you, you can go to www.mayemson.com/contact to learn more. And I've also created a free masterclass that helps you figure out what's next on your leg of your journey. So you can go to the link in the show notes to sign up. You can learn the 3 phases of where you're at in those career and life crossroads and what you want to do in each of those phases because they are different. All right, my friends, that's it for this week. I hope you have an amazing one, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.